Welcome to Bold Beginnings, where we teach and show you how God works in our careers, what His purpose is for us, and why we should trust Him in everything that we do. My name is Rita Wilson.
And I am Sandra Fernandez.
And we are here with Matthew.
Hi.
Hi, Matthew.
I didn't know what to call you, Matthew.
Sure.
Sure. How are you?
I am fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing good.
That's
good. We are really excited to have you.
Yes.
Excited to be here.
Yes, absolutely. Guys, I got to share something a little personal here, okay? So every time we do this podcast, right, we're looking for people to be on the podcast, we really try to, pray about it to make sure we're getting the right people at the right time, right? I'm sure we're going to have a lot more guests that are supposed to be here, but our goal is to make sure that the people that are supposed to be here at this moment are here. And so I was struggling with who was going to be our last guest, and I kept having this feeling to ask Matthew. And I was just like, okay, Rita, is this God or is this just you being extra? Or
trying to fill the spot.
Trying to fill the spot, you know what I'm saying? Because it's not, I don't want it to be a spot to fill, right? The people that are in those spots are supposed to be there, and it needs to be impactful. And so I was going back and forth, and on Monday I sat in my car and I was like, okay, Lord, if Matthew is the person to message about this spot, then I need to know. Because I'm going back and forth. I'm unsure. I don't know if this is me or you. I need to know. And instantly, I picked up my phone and I messaged his wife. And, she had made a comment that we were talking about your podcast, and we will see if we were going to ask Matthew to be on the show. And, and she was like, we just prayed about it. And that right there was the confirmation that he was supposed to be on here. Because not only did I feel it, right? But, you guys were also praying that if he was the person. So I just, I needed to share that because it was super powerful. And just my message behind that is, really trust God. Because you just don't know how he's going to work. And, I mean, it was a really powerful moment. And then I called Sandra, he did it again. And so we're here with Matthew.
Yes.
I'm the seat filler.
He's not, but
I'm not.
yes.
I don't feel that way.
Yes.
No.
Matthew, tell us about yourself. Tell us a little bit about you, what you love to do for fun, your family.
My name is Matthew Pfister. What I love to do right now is being a parent. I love being a father. I love my kids. I love my wife, and I can't think of a time in my life that's been better than right now. And I can't wait till tomorrow because it's going to be even better. I love my family. It's my purpose. It's not my work. It's nothing else. That's it. I love teaching my children, and we do it every day. It's not always biblical. It's about life, but everything is grounded in God. Amen. Everything is grounded in God, and that's our foundation for our family. It's always been, and I love it. I can't wait to do it more.
Aww.
My kids can be as annoying as anybody else's kids can be, and I know I can be also, but that's all part of it. That comes with the package, and I love it. I love it every day.
How many kids do you have?
I have 3 kids. I have 2 boys and a girl. My oldest is getting ready to turn 14 next week. I believe, next week. And then I have a 11-year-old boy who's going to be 12 in August, and I have a 8-year-old girl who's going to be 9 in August.
Oh, wow.
So.
Wow.
And I'm 53, so they keep me young.
Nice.
They keep me very young.
That's awesome. I love it. How long have you been married? Sorry.
We are we're on our 15th year. It'll be our 15th anniversary in November, I believe. I'm looking at my wife, so everybody knows. We've been together
She's giving him cues.
Yeah, We've been together
We need to
for
get her some cue
17
cards.
years and married for 15.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Love
awesome.
that. That's
doing great.
that's amazing.
I love that woman.
Congratulations.
That's
Yes.
my woman.
That's
Like
That's
he
your
said.
That's
woman.
your
That's my
woman.
woman
Yes.
right
Like Zane said.
there. Yes,
Yep.
that is.
I love it.
Yes, God has put 6 people on this earth for me,
Mm.
and there's no order to them, but my wife, my kids, and my parents. That's, my parents just celebrated their 57th anniversary
Oh, wow.
on the 3rd, so 6 days ago, and they are amazing. I don't know how I would go through life without them.
Wow.
The things that they've done for me that not a lot of parents would do.
Mm-hmm.
This taught me how to be a parent,
Right.
and it's been amazing.
Wow.
Very
Yeah.
beautiful.
And then that lady over there, yeah, God put her here for me.
I love it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Especially. It's funny that you said that because my in-laws, my husband, he has 3 brothers, and they just always say, like, we have been praying for our sons' wives since they were little boys. And so
Oh, I love that.
as I, like, I'm in the moment right now, and I just, like, I see it, I see it, and I understand it now.
Yeah.
Than I did when I first met them. I'm like, you've been praying for me, you don't even know me. You know what I'm saying? But that's what they meant by that. Like praying for a spouse or someone that is going to love their children through
Yeah.
whatever
Absolutely.
this world
Mhm.
hands us, because we all know that the hand sometimes is dirty, right?
Yes.
And it's not its best. So, like, I love that. I love that she's your person. So,
Yes,
I love it.
That's beautiful.
She's amazing.
she is.
She's awesome. I love it. Matthew.
Yes.
Let's start with your life story, I guess.
Okay,
And
well-
transition into now.
Okay.
I love it.
I was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I have in 1970. I have 2 older brothers. I'm 53. My brother Pete is 54, and my brother Tim is 55.
Oh, wow.
So we were all 3 right in a row. Grew up in the Catholic Church. I went to a Catholic grade school,
Oh, wow.
1st through 8th grade.
Mhm.
My parents were very strict. They were very, children are to be seen and not heard.
Oh.
Sat in the front pew at church every Sunday, and we're too scared to make a noise, because we knew it was coming if we did. And I gleaned out of that discipline is important, that you have to have it for kids. You don't necessarily have to go that far,
Right.
I don't think, but in my opinion, you have to have it. I went, my grade school was in the suburbs of Milwaukee, and I went from a very conservative Catholic grade school to a inner city high school, and that was a culture shock. I went to high school with some very bad people who ended up being very bad people. I went to high school with the guy that killed Jeffrey Dahmer.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
I was
Christopher Scarver.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he went to high school, James Madison High School. And it was a culture shock for me. It was beyond that. I never graduated. I started skipping school, and I never really got into alcohol or drugs. So that really wasn't a thing. I didn't want to do anything. I had no drive. And it ended up me getting kicked out of the house when I was 16. And sometimes it's a little fuzzy because it's been a long time ago. I know I went back to the house, and I broke into the house and got food and things like that, and a week later I was arrested for breaking and entering.
Oh, wow.
And
To your parents'
My
house.
parents pressed charges against me
Oh, wow,
for doing
okay.
that. And And from there, I became a ward of the state of Wisconsin until I was 18.
Mm.
My parents said, I don't want him back.
Oh, wow.
This is the part where I was talking about my parents have done things that not a lot of parents do.
Right.
Yeah.
And I never blamed him for it. I knew I was screwing up, so the day I turned 18, I was have a nice life from the system, from the judicial system in Wisconsin. I didn't have a house. I didn't have anywhere to live. I had nothing. I lived on the streets. This was August of 1988. I lived on the streets of Wisconsin. I ended up witnessing a car accident. And I had to give the police something, so I gave them my mom's phone number,
Oh, wow.
who I hadn't talked to in a year at least, probably. And so I ended up calling my mom and saying, hey, I witnessed a car accident. The police might contact you. I didn't do anything wrong, And then she mentioned that the Navy had called and said they were looking for people. And my mom, of course, was like, well, he doesn't even have a high school diploma. And they were like, I don't care. So I went and talked to a recruiter, and December 7th, of 1988, I was on my way to boot camp. I spent the first week of December living in the recruiter's office,
Right.
sleeping there because I didn't have anywhere to go. And I went and joined the Navy. And it took me off down to North Chicago for boot camp in December. That was a wonderful choice. It was very cold. And when they shave your head, they don't tell you how cold your head will become.
Yeah.
And from there, I went through boot camp, and then I went off to Virginia Beach to go to a school to learn how to run radars and do things for my job. And then in July of '89, I got on my ship. And my ship was the USS Saipan, LHA-2. It's a marine carrier. Very, very large. It's 870 feet long, 250 feet wide. We carried lots of helicopters and Harrier jets and 2,000 Marines, and there's 1,000 sailors on it. And my job was to run the radar systems on there. And we go on deployments. You go on 6-month deployments. I was there. I was on the ship for 8 years. I did 4 deployments.
Wow.
So my first deployment was March of 1990 until September of 1990. And this is where our connection comes in. And on that deployment, it was my first one. We were in France going through some maintenance, and we got the call to go to Liberia. They were having a civil war. I was 19 years old. I didn't know much of what was going on. We just go where they tell us to go, and we went to Liberia. We got there in early June, and we sat there for months waiting. And this is the part where I was saying it got really boring. It was a challenge how boring it was, because our job is to track ships and aircraft going by, and there were no ships going by, and there were no aircraft going by.
Right.
It was a big empty space. We sat 50 miles off the coast until we had to do something. And then our do something came middle of August, I believe, was to go in. We needed to evacuate the embassy first, and then evacuate civilians as needed. So we went in and started evacuating people, and to our count was about 1,600 people we evacuated from Liberia. We flew them on the ship. Most of them were moved. They were, I believe, checked out by medical and then moved off to Freeport in Sierra Leone. We've even had a baby born on board. One of the ladies came on, was very pregnant, and had her baby on board.
Yeah.
Because we have a complete medical everything. So at this point in time, we're gonna come to the present, and
I'm just very, very excited, and for our listeners that are viewing, I just want to share that the connection between Rita and Matthew it's just incredible. And Rita is from Liberia, and she'll get to share her story here soon. But that is it's just incredible how God really just brings it full circle, you know. And again, thank you, Matthew, for being here, and Rita.
I'm here.
Thank you. You know, thank you, because I know that I'm very excited to hear Rita's story and how these two came connected, and I hope that this brings a lot of hope and joy to your guys' hearts as well, and to hear Rita's story and what Matthew has to share as well.
So, about a month ago, you had gone out with some of the ladies, my wife included, and you know, you gave your testimonies. You talked about, you know, what you guys talk about when you're out, and my wife tells me everything. She tells me everything that happens. I tell her everything that happens. We can get into that story in a little bit as to why, but so she told me, she said, yeah, I was out with, you know, Destiny and Rita, and she talked about her story, how she was a refugee out of Liberia. And I was just like, I'm sorry, what? Say that again? You know, she was a refugee out of Liberia. I was like, well, how old is Rita? She didn't know. But I told her, I said, I was there. You know, we were there pulling refugees out.
Yeah.
And so the next Sunday, I was like anxious. I was like, please let Rita be at church. Please let Rita be at church.
You're like, I gotta talk to Rita.
I gotta talk to Rita.
Yeah.
And
Rita's over here like, should I
Rita's
ask
over
Matthew?
here.
Should I ask Matthew?
Yeah. Rita's off. She's talking, and my wife spends enough time talking to everybody after church, so I had plenty of time. You know?
This is his one time he talks to somebody after church.
Yeah. And so I waited for you to stop, whoever finish your conversation, and I went up to you, and I was kind of smug. I was like, that was a dumb way to come about it. I was like, I said, hi, do you know who I am? You know, she's like, what? I don't know you. And I said, I'm Vanessa's husband. She's like, okay. And then I told her that I was off of Liberia pulling refugees out. And the waterworks started. And that was pretty much the end of that conversation. And every conversation I've had with her since then has been ended the same way. It's hard to talk to Rita because she starts crying.
Yeah.
Every time, you know, which is great, but, you know.
Is it?
So there is a really, really, really good chance that you and your mother, and I don't know who else was with you and your family, because we haven't had enough time to talk about that, came onto my ship and was transferred off.
Yes.
But, you know, and that was in 1990. That's, I don't know. I was told there wasn't any math today, but
It was like 27 years ago,
That
I
was
believe.
37 years ago. That was or 30. No, it was 30. I don't know, 35 years ago or something like that. 34 years ago.
yes, yes,
99. 34 years ago.
Yes.
And that's just amazing because it wasn't. I mean, statistically, that's just us meeting is almost impossible because 1,600 people out of 8 billion.
Right.
That we had that connection.
It's crazy. I was talking to my mom, and I told her, and she goes, "Yeah, I remember all of that." And I mean, it was hard because we both were crying, right?
Yeah.
So, just a little bit part of my memory, guys. I'm really emotional. This is really hard for me. So, but God is. He's leading this conversation. He's here.
Yeah.
Yes, he is here.
You are supposed to be in my life right now, and it was just mind blowing. Just like why now, right? I asked that so many times. Why now? Like this man was there. He was there when we were going through war, when we were going through the hardest part of our lives. 35 years later, I just got my citizenship.
Yeah.
And he showed up.
And we talk about dots and connections.
That's a big dot.
Mm-hmm.
There was a war from 1989 to 2003, and my whole family was in the war. My father left my family because he wanted to marry to more than one wives. And my mom's like, no,
Yeah.
we're not doing that. I have 2 adopted brothers. Our first adopted brother, we met him in just a really bad situation. My second adopted brother, mother wanted to sell him to us. I remember my mom saying, we're not going to buy him for rice, but we'll take him if you can't take care of him. And so they were adopted by love, right?
It's the best way.
Because that's
Mhm.
it. And then my blood brother Robert, who is the only man I know as a brother and as a father, he's taken that role. The war was hard. The war was hard, and Robert, my blood brother, was put in a place where he not only had to be my brother, but he had to be my father, my protector, because of the circumstances. And that was nothing but God.
That's what a man does.
That was nothing but God.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My mom had a plan. She said she had a dream that she had to come to America. I didn't know how she was going to get here. But
Yeah.
she had this plan that this is where she was supposed to be, Matthew. And, you know, the war comes and it goes. You know, we run, sometimes we stay. I mean, it's war, right? The rebels are coming to your village. They got guns. They're coming in, people are running, people are hiding. I mean, that's life. That was
Yeah.
life for us. And I couldn't tell you guys how many times God covered us. I don't know how I am sitting in this chair, but I am,
You
and
are.
it's God.
It's God.
And
God said, go this way, go that way. And all you did was follow. Follow his orders. He tells us what to do in life. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
not that concrete. It's not that black and white. But we're here for a reason.
we're here for a reason.
Yeah.
My mom had this dream that she had to come to America, and she just kept saying, I'm going to go to America, I'm going to go to America. And, you know, I didn't know she was in the States. She actually left when the war came. I guess it was the perfect time. She came here on a visiting visa. I didn't know where she was. You know, the war came, and we all split up and ran, and when we came back, my mother wasn't there. I didn't know where she was. You know, it's normal. She's going to come back. You know, we run and we hide and we come back, and life is normal. That's what we do. But this time she wasn't there. She didn't come back. You know, as a little girl, you wait for your mom.
Oh, yeah.
You wait for her, and the sun went down, came back up, and she's probably hiding. She'll be back. This is normal. This is what we do. One of the things she always told me, she goes, when we run and you can't find us, you need to pray.
Yep.
Because if you pray, you will always find us. You will always find us.
That seemed to have come true.
Yes, it
It's
did.
very true.
Rita,
Thank
how
you,
old
Mom.
were you when this was all going?
I was a little girl. It's like probably 6.
Mm-hmm.
6 years old.
I
I
can't
don't,
imagine
I
that.
don't know that
Yeah.
for sure.
I can't imagine having to. I can't imagine what I would do to keep my 6-year-old girl, you know, safe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That I would have to do that. That is not.
In that moment, Rita, when you guys would split up and come back, and your mom, how long was your mom gone for?
So at that time, when she had left to come to the United States, she was gone for about 3 years.
3 years.
So 3 years
Mhm.
later, we were told we needed to go to the city of Liberia. There was a phone call, and my mom was on the phone. There she was in America.
How did they get to you?
I don't know.
How did they come tell you?
I'm like, how? We're in the middle of, there's nothing
Yeah.
around.
You go into Monrovia?
Monroe, the city of
the ci-
Liberia.
yeah,
That's how
yeah.
we got the call.
Yeah.
I don't know like how that even happened. To be honest, I couldn't even tell you.
Yeah.
But so we got the call, and Mommy was in America. She came here on a visiting visa.
Yeah.
Her visiting visa was expired. The American government found her and said, Dorothy, you're illegal. We need to deport you back to Liberia.
Yeah.
But because there was a civil war in your country, we need to give you a chance to fight. She was actually in front, she was going in front of a judge to get deported.
Right.
Because she got the letter that she needs to get deported.
Yeah.
And so when she had went to the courts in D.C. in front of the judge, that's when she said, there's a war in my country and my kids are there. That's why I came here. I came here because I wanted to get out. Liberia is not the place. And he granted her asylum in that moment because she was ready to get deported in front of that judge. That was his job.
Yeah.
No, that was God.
It was God again.
That was God.
God put that judge in
Yes.
that court to do that because the judge didn't
Absolutely.
have to do that. I have a feeling it's probably a policy of America too. If they don't send people back to the Civil War torn countries,
Right.
you know.
And he said, because there's a war in your country and you got kids, we got to give you the chance to fight. And I remember my mom telling us that the lady that was representing her, the attorney, was like, what God do you serve?
Yeah.
Because this has never happened. And she looked at her and said, the same God you serve.
Yeah. I'd like to thank my country for that.
It's
Yeah.
like,
That's what I fought for.
right,
That's what I joined the military for was, to help people.
right.
It's great. That's awesome. That's
And
amazing.
it was just insane. Like, so she was here and, fighting for her paperwork, and we were back in Liberia, and she finally fought and got her asylum, and she was able to bring me. But she couldn't bring my adopted brothers because they were adopted by love. We all know there was no paperwork there.
Yeah.
And then my blood brother, Robert, I don't know what age he was, but she couldn't bring my brother because he was over the age limit. And she couldn't file for him as her child because now he was a man. She had to file for him, and I don't know what the age limit was. And so she was able to bring me. But what was crazy is that my brother knew that he couldn't come, but he didn't tell me
Yeah.
until we got to the plane. And so
Well, that's heartbreaking.
I had walked up halfway and I turned around and he was at the bottom. And when I knew he wasn't coming with me, he said, it is not my time. But he knew I wouldn't have went. He knew I wouldn't have went.
Yeah.
It's another man right there.
I remember the transition of the plane. I remember that just so clearly. It gradually got nicer as we came to the United States. I felt like they threw me on there. Where there's no seats in there. I don't remember
Yeah.
seats.
Yeah.
I don't remember seats.
It's probably a transport plane instead of a passenger plane. Yeah.
Right. Um,
Yeah. Where's your brother now?
Robert is in D.C. He has his
Good.
bachelor's in biology.
Awesome.
Went to Harvard University.
Wow.
He's about to be a doctor.
That's amazing.
You guys,
That's amazing.
nothing, like, there's nothing too big for God.
Oh.
We had to send him to Ghana to the refugee camp because the rebels wouldn't leave him alone in Liberia. The rebels, if they want your child, you kind of don't have a choice, guys. They come in your hut, they come in your home, they grab your little boys, they give them guns and say, this is how you are going to have power. This is how you're going to, and so we had to send him to the refugee camp in Ghana because the rebels wouldn't leave him alone, and my mom was scared that they were going to kill him
because they used to grab him and beat him up and put him in holes. Like, we wouldn't find him for days. And so we had to send him to Ghana. He took a couple ships over to Ghana,
Yeah.
but it like sunk, and there was bad situations, but he finally got to the refugee camp in Ghana.
God's will.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
where he wanted him.
Yep. And so he was there for a little bit, and I came from Africa to DC. Gaithersburg, Maryland is where I came, and I did thought my mom was white, because I thought when you came to the U.S. you changed color. That's what my brothers
Little
told
did
me.
you
In
know.
Africa, they're so mean. They're like, you know, if you go to the United States and you stay there too long, like, you turn white, so mommy's going to be white when you see her. And so I'm sitting there like,
Oh, that's amazing.
how am I going to turn, really? And so, like, I get off the plane, and all these, like, white women are walking around, and I'm looking. I'm like, which one's my mom? Oh, my gosh. And then I see her. I'm like, that's her, but no, she's supposed to be white. And she's looking at me. I'm looking at her, and I'm just like, where's my mom? And then she says something in our dialect. I'm like, oh, gosh, that's her. She didn't turn
Yeah.
white. I need to get over here.
That doesn't happen.
And so, if my mom would not have listened to God and take that courage, I wouldn't be sitting in front of you. If my mom would not listen, she's like, God told me I had a dream. I am supposed to be
Yeah.
in America. She just knew. And
Yep.
she just knew, Matthew.
Yeah. That's amazing.
That is really
Yeah,
cool.
That is awesome.
Matthew, I know you brought a book with you.
I did.
Will you share with us? Like,
Sure.
What?
So
what
this
is
is
kind of in
this is
there
a
and-
cruise book.
Mhm.
This is from that deployment. It's kind of like
Yeah.
it's kind of like a high school yearbook, and it has all of the people on the ship, from every department except for the Marines, because that's way too many to do. And I'm somewhere in here.
I'm like, where are you?
Yeah, I'm right here at this very bottom. I don't know if you could zoom in on that by my finger. That's me. And if I go towards the back, it talks about. It has a few pictures of the conflict of you going through the Liberia. Let's see if I can find it. Here we go. So this operation was called Operation Sharp Edge of the U.S. Embassy in Monrovia, Liberia. We went in, and a part of the Marines' job is to secure embassies. They all work at embassies, and we went in and secured the embassy and defended it from whoever it needed to be defended from. I'm not exactly sure. And here's a couple pictures of them bringing on folks. This was a baby that was born on the ship. There was a lady that came on that was very pregnant, and that baby is now a U.S. citizen because they were born on a U.S. ship, and that
territory.
is U.S. land.
Very cool.
So that's amazing. I'm gonna let Rita take this to her mom and show her. And so we talk about, you were talking about connecting the dots. To continue the story, I finished up my Navy career in 1997. I was in Virginia, and I was married to my first wife at the time. I don't have any kids with her. That marriage ended in 2003. So I was in Virginia by myself. I had no family there, just my ex-wife. And I was living with a roommate whose behavior was going south fast. And I needed to leave. I needed to get out. So I found a job, basically what I was doing, but it was in Qatar, off of Saudi Arabia. So off I went, and this was August of 2007. I arrived in Qatar, and August in Qatar is hot.
Yeah.
Very hot. And I wasn't there a week before I met Vanessa. That's where I met her, at Applebee's. She was a server at Applebee's.
Oh.
Amazing Applebee's too. It's better than here.
I was gonna say that's really cool that they have an Applebee's there. I love
Yes.
Applebee's.
Yeah. So we started dating. We dated for 2 years. She was anxious to get married and have kids. You know. So we got married. November of 2009, we got married. That was, you want to talk about a stressful time. It was a 2-month period before I proposed to the wedding, and in those 2 months, I had flown to the States and back, and to the Philippines and back during that 2-month period, and planned and executed a wedding. So we got married. We had both of our boys were born there. That was fun.
In the Philippines?
No, they were born in Qatar.
In Qatar. Okay.
In Qatar. And then we move up to the next dot. Here comes the next dot. I was a contractor, government contractor. I did it for 27 years. We were looking to come back to the States. And we were in the process of getting her visa. And so I understand the visa process very well. We were in the process of getting her visa, and it ended up, they told us to wait until our 3rd anniversary, because it's just, they look for sham weddings, and ours wasn't. So we waited till after our 3rd anniversary, and then they said that when we went back, it's like, oh, the process has changed, so you have to start going through all this all over again.
Oh, wow.
And we were in turmoil in our contract at the time, so I was like, nope, we're just going to go get a tourist visa for her. So I know that if it's time to go, it's time to go.
It's time to go.
So I found a job here. And when I say here, I mean this building that we're sitting in right now.
Wow.
So Taupe Technologies is right around the corner from here.
I can't.
And
Wow.
so it's in this building. So God brought me here to this building, and I worked on base, but my contract company is right here.
Wow.
Did you know this?
No.
Oh.
No, I kept secrets.
I'm like, are you hiding?
No, I had
We're
no
supposed
idea.
to be on the same page.
I gotta
no
keep this
idea.
interesting. My life,
He's like, it just keeps coming.
So the Lord brought me here.
Right.
Yeah.
To this building, and that has worked out. We tried to move out. We went to Arizona for 15 months. God brought us right back here. So nope, you need to be here.
Wow.
And I think we need to be here because of you. We needed to be here.
Yeah, from Liberia to Utah.
I needed to meet you. This is a dot that had to happen. And yeah, that's why we are sitting here right now. And she is crying, and I'm trying not to. Yep. God brought my family and I here because of you. Back to here.
That is just amazing, because even just to see the work that you're doing in the force, and in the military, to be able to actually see somebody that was affected from all of the stuff that you guys did, you know what I mean? And to be able to see it now because sometimes we do things, in life, and we don't really know how it affects others, or if what we've done has helped others, So this is incredibly just so amazing that from Liberia, you guys, she's been to, was it Washington, D.C.?
Yep.
Washington, D.C., and here, and then you've traveled and ended up here and in this building. Like, it's mind-blowing. It's amazing how everything just comes full circle.
Yep, the Lord has had a plan for me. I mean, it is a roundabout way to get to things,
Yeah.
you know, but it is, you know, it's given me every life experience that I've had,
Right.
and it's brought me to the people that I need to be with,
Yeah.
and it's brought me to the church that we're at.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the big reasons for coming back, was church. It was hard to leave CLC, and then, you know, when the opportunity to come back, it was like we prayed for it, and back we came, and it was like we never left.
Mm-hmm.
It was just 15 months out of our life that we enjoyed. We had a good time, but COVID shut it down, and, you know, we didn't have a time to. We like people. You know, love the
Yeah.
Lord with all your heart and love your neighbor, and we are definitely that. You know, we love the Lord, and we love our neighbors, and we love having people over, and we love having good times and crying and laughing and singing and eating good food.
I was going to say some good food.
You know, and you know, he has stomach problems. I don't. Unfortunately, everything works. So
Yeah.
it's amazing. And, you know, along my journey, I figured out, I don't know, probably 8 or 9 years ago, that I'm not here for me.
Right.
I am not here for me anymore. And it couldn't be better. I am here for everybody else.
Yeah.
I tell my kids,
you.
it's like, you have to understand that your life is not for you. Your life is for the Lord and everybody else. I don't do anything but for the Lord and my family. And I wouldn't have it any other way at all. That's just about it. I'm not perfect at it, you know. I make my mistakes, and I'm lazy sometimes, and but yeah, I do everything for my family now. It's just not me anymore.
How long did you serve?
I was in the Navy for 8 years.
8 years.
Yeah,
Okay,
from
wow.
1988 to 1997.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on the ship for 7.5 of those years.
Wow.
What are some of the things you saw on the ship, if you don't mind sharing? Just
I've seen some deployments. I served at a time, 88 to 97, when the only thing that was going on was Desert Storm.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that was the big thing, but I was in Liberia when they were building up for Desert Storm. That's why not a lot of people know about it.
right.
Because they were all concerned with Desert Storm. So when my deployment ended in September, we went back to the Virginia, and it was empty. There was nobody there, because they were all over in the Middle East.
Right.
So my next deployment after that was a Desert Shield. So we were in the Gulf for peacekeeping.
Mm-hmm.
So that was probably 91 or 92. I did a deployment in the Adriatic for deny flight when the whole Yugoslavia thing was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And my last deployment, I don't remember much from. I was just a routine. There wasn't a whole lot of things going on in the world that we messed with the Marines a lot, because they don't have anything to do on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
They, we always said they eat, sleep, work out, and stand in line. That's what they do. Because that was it.
This is a diss. There's
is-
going to
it
be a
was-
TikTok video about this.
This was well before any TikTok videos. We had payphones on the ship. So when we were in Port in Virginia, they would hook payphones up. So when you were on duty and you couldn't leave the ship, you'd call, do it, whatever. And we would stand in line. We get a bunch of sailors and stand in line at the payphones while we're out at sea. And the Marines would just stand in line behind us, acting like they were going to wait their turn to get on the phone, and there wasn't a phone. We were just messing with them, because you're bored, so you mess with each other. I had a lot of great friends. The ship is no longer doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
It was taken down to Brownsville, Texas, and broken down for its metal. I think the United States Navy sold it for $1. That's all they do.
Wow.
Yeah. it was decommissioned in 2007. I was lucky enough to go to that. Yeah, but I miss a lot of people. I still talk with a lot of people that
Yeah.
I was, we have lifelong friends from there. Yeah.
Wow, that's really, really cool. Rita, what was your experience coming from Liberia into the U.S.? Like, did you go straight to school? Because you're school age at this point.
Right.
Like, how was it with the language, the
Um,
culture?
It was really hard. It was really hard for me. I was in a whole different world. I was
Yeah.
in a whole different world of
Mm-hmm.
different people. I had a strong accent, right? Like we spoke English, but it was with
Yes.
this heavy accent. You know that.
Yeah.
But we had dialects, right? We spoke dialects, and so I just remember being afraid as a little girl coming from the world that I knew to this world,
Right.
and
Yes.
I was afraid to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought people would make fun of me, right? Because they didn't
Right.
understand me. I know it took a while for me to get into school, obviously, right? Because we had to make sure, like, all of my paperwork and stuff was intact. But I just remember being afraid that I had left home and that I would never see my brothers again.
Yeah.
I always prayed because praying is what I knew. Praying is what I knew, Matthew.
It's a good thing to know.
That's all I knew.
Yeah. I can't imagine. It's got to be, because you don't have much of an accent now.
Yeah.
I know.
I don't.
You speak it very well.
I know.
Yeah.
Too well.
Yeah. But was there a point in time where you felt, I'm safe now? I don't have to worry about some soldiers coming to get.
Yeah. When I came
Mhm.
to the States.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't the same,
Yeah.
right? Like,
It's a different kind of hard.
yeah, you're just
Mhm.
like, you're prepared to run, guys. Like, that's your life. It's like, they're coming, we gotta go, right? Like, it's like a constant game plan. And even like just running has like affect my life, right?
Mhm.
Like, I remember there used to be a lady by the well and she had her baby on her back and her little kid was holding her hand. And they just used to sit there. But I knew she was just prepared to run. And she didn't want to leave her kids,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
you know? And that's like the world we lived in,
Right.
right? And that's why my mom said, if you can't find us, pray.
Yeah.
If you can't find us, pray. There's times she gets sick of running. She's like, we're going to stay here and pray. I was like, we're about to die. This one was crazy, you know? And guys, nothing happened. Nothing happened. And you can't look up in the sky and tell me that was man-made.
Mm-hmm.
There is no way. You know, there's a lot of things that are man-made, but you cannot look up in these blue skies and tell me that was man-made.
Nope.
You cannot tell me there is not something bigger than us.
You're the creator.
And in those moments where we will run, I mean, it became normal. You talk about normal, like,
Mm-hmm.
I just remember always praying. And even in my adult life, I'm very like, I'm a private person when it comes to certain things in my life because of my experiences and what I've went through. But even in my adult life, like, when I have an issue, I'm on my knees. That's what I know. That's what I grew up with. That's what I've been taught, and that's what I hold on to is prayer, that there is power to prayer. I can't even imagine the nights my mom prayed and say, Lord, am I going to make it to America? Are you going to get me out of here? Those dreams. You know, I just can't even, like, imagine, like, how many times she got on her knees.
Right. And even had the strength to leave
us.
the children behind.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I have a hard time
I
just
don't
letting
know if
my
I
son
could do
go
that.
a week.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, you talk about faith and trusting and believing. I'm like, I can never leave my kids.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm already picking whose house they go to.
Yeah.
I'm like, Sandra, you're not available. We're not going nowhere. You know, like,
Bring them to our house. We'll take care of them.
right. Just like the trust and the faith of like, that she knew it was gonna be okay. Like I did, like even as a mother now, I could, like, it's hard to understand,
Yeah.
like, Mom, but she did it,
Yeah.
and she did it, and I'm here, and we connected, and like, it's just mind blowing, you know. One of the things my mom taught me that has been, and I think this has helped me transition into leadership. When I came to the States, I just couldn't process why there was poor people. Like, I couldn't process it. I'm like, I mean, you got Bishop Storehouse, you got Catholic Community, you got CLC, you got churches and food storages and places like that, and there are still poor people on the street. I just couldn't process it. Like, my brain did not understand why there was poor people in this country, because there's so much help and there's so many things. Because in Africa, when there's no food, guys, there's no grocery store, Matthew.
Yeah.
Like, there's no rain, there's no crops growing. Like, we're all hungry, right? And so my mother had to pull me aside and say, I am so sorry that we went through this war and our lives wasn't the best, but we're blessed to be here. But you have to understand, the person that's going through a drug addiction, the person that's going through depression,
Yep.
they are struggling just as bad as you did in war, because that is their internal war, and you can't judge that.
No, sure
You
can't.
can't. It's there's no levels of it. It's not, we've been through harder things, so we're better. We're all on the same level.
Absolutely.
That person that's going through depression and that drug addiction, they are battling their own internal war.
Yes.
And you know what? It is okay. This is when we show empathy. This is when we love each other and we support and not judge and say, my situation is better than yours, because we all
Not at all.
have a story.
Yes.
And we all are going through our own personal battles. And guys, that changed my life.
Yeah.
That
That's a
moment
wise woman right there.
Yeah.
changed my life. That
Yeah.
changed my
I
life.
can't wait to meet her.
She's
Yeah,
amazing.
she is.
And that's what really changed my perspective of people, because I did come into this country thinking these people are selfish, or they don't know what it is to like really go through something. And if I didn't have her to show me that perspective, I
Yeah.
wouldn't be a leader of people today.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't happen. So like, what a blessing to have those, like, wisdom, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
And those are things we need to listen to and strive for, because it changed our perspective, and it made me so much more like less judgmental. I was pretty judgy.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, and it's like, even like with me and my husband, like, we'll have moments and he's like, how can you just breeze through this? It's hard for me, you know, and a lot of it is my background, what I've been through. You know, I'm
Yeah.
able to get through some of the hardest stuff, and I had to take a step back and realize, like, you have to support and help your husband through whatever it is he's going through. You have to show him love. You have to show him compassion. You have to be understanding, because that was hard to grasp up, you know, like grasp onto, because
Yeah.
like some of the things that are hard for people, it's like me stepping over the stairs, like, oh, I
Yeah.
overdid that hurdle, you know what I'm saying? And people are struggling within themselves, so I think we forget, we get lost in ourselves.
Yes.
We get lost in me. And the Bible states it, like, if you're struggling and you're going through something, then you need to go serve.
Yes.
You need to go help other people. That's how it works.
Yep.
But like the transition, guys, it was a battle. It really was a battle. I was in a new world. And I didn't know if I was going to see my brothers again. Like, obviously not my adopted brothers, but my blood brother. I didn't know if I was going to see him.
And that was a struggle for me. Like I
Right.
said, like during my wedding, he walked me down the aisle. That's my dad. I mean,
That's
I
amazing.
did my first dance with him, right?
That's
Because
awesome.
you know, my mother was saying, you know, like during the war, when we were all like going, like your brother had you on his hip, he wouldn't let you go for nothing, you know. And I've just been so blessed and fortunate that I wasn't raped, right? Or nothing bad happened, but my brother just felt like this need and love to take care of me.
Yeah.
And just make sure I was safe, you know. Even with everything he was going through, guys, the rebels really torment that boy. Like,
Yeah.
they really put a hurting on him. But for him to come and be a doctor, I mean, come
Yeah.
on now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Like, you can't tell me nothing's impossible. I just,
Yeah.
like, no one can because I've lived it.
Yeah.
I've seen it. I've been in it, you know, and it is God.
It is.
It is God. It is God. It is God. My mom sung a song during the war when we were like struggling and running sometimes, or like when we didn't have like nowhere to go and she didn't know what to do. She sung a song and it was just amazing. I'm going to share. My voice is terrible, but I'm going to share it, okay? And I'm going to repeat it a little bit. It's me again, Lord. We got a prayer. We need an answer. It's me again, Lord. We got a problem we cannot solve. We don't mean to worry you, but we're faced with something new. We need some help that comes from you. It's me again, Lord. It's me again, Lord. I got a prayer. I need an answer. It's me again, Lord. I got a problem I can't solve. I don't mean to worry you, but I'm faced with something new. I need some help that comes from you. It's me again, Lord. It's me again, Lord. I got a prayer. I need your answer. It's me again, Lord. I got a problem I cannot solve. I don't mean to worry you, but I'm faced with something new. I need some help that comes from you. It's me again, Lord.